Greetings, agents, and welcome to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after show on the theStreamtv fan show network. My name is Kevin Becker, and I will be your host tonight. And joining me, as always, on my left...
Hi, guys. James Hartman here.
And then we'll throw it to my right...
Keyla Teixeira.
And joining us tonight, my very good friend...
Woohoo! Hi, I'm Jack Conway.
All right, now, before we get started, go ahead and invite your friends to join the conversation right here, right now on the theStream.tv's YouTube channel. We want to answer your questions, but we have to have you there to ask them. So before we get started, that's how it works, right? Before we get started, we wanted to just give a quick shout out to the Marvel Cinematic Universe page on Facebook. If you haven't liked them yet, go check them out. After the show. We went over this last week. All right, but go on over, check them out at facebook.com/Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know we're all on it, and it's a ton of really great comments and conversations and just being able to connect over stuff that we love. So, tonight's episode number 3. We're in full swing now, guys. We want to talk about a bunch of things. First off, one of the things that we saw in this episode is we are seeing Hydra start to push harder. Before they were sitting in the background, now they're kidnapping people, brainwashing them, doing all of these things. They're fighting harder. How far do you guys think that S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to go now to combat this new aggressive stance that Hydra's taking?
I'm a little scared right now for S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, it's a tricky place. Director Coulson is deciding where he wants to be and what level he wants to be at, and I feel like it's going to get confused, and they might do something that doesn't necessarily stick to the morals of S.H.I.E.L.D. only because of the fact that all this stuff is just being thrown at them. You know what I mean? I don't know if Director Coulson, it's weird saying director, is going to be able to handle it all. You know, I just don't know.
I think this is Hydra's thing. I mean, they've always had money, power, secrets, and cool big boardrooms where they get to wear suits and laugh at the end of every sentence. So this is their world, and it seems like from the events of Cap and S.H.I.E.L.D. that we have not seen Hydra lose that much money necessarily. They still seem to have plenty of capital to keep doing what they want to do. S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't even have enough fuel for the helicarrier. So the question of how hard will they push?
The bus, you mean?
The bus, excuse me. I said helicarrier, excuse me. And the new one's a Quinjet, technically, I believe, if I'm not mistaken on that. I think they call it a Quinjet.
Yeah.
But they'll go as far as they have to, but they don't have money, basically. So what does a hungry person do when they have to solve something? They have to get a little more scrappy, and they have to do without. So
that's what scares me.
Exactly. I think they're going to get pushed to some limits that they've never even had to think about before.
Yeah, some intense survival skills, I think, are going to kick into it in this case. But I feel like S.H.I.E.L.D. right now, because of their position in the global takeover by Hydra, they're basically walking on very thin ice, pun intended, for this episode as well. Things are changing, and they need to catch up to Hydra, because Hydra is essentially recruiting gifted people. They are recruiting ex-S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, or if they can't recruit them as assets who join them of their own free will, they brainwash them in that case. So they are very intense tactics that Hydra has chosen, and of course they're Hydra, that's what happened. So let's see what kind of attitude S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to take from this.
S.H.I.E.L.D. might have to offer a dental plan at this point. Oh, right. It might literally be the only way.
Nice.
They've got 45 cents to their name, and they're going to offer a dental plan.
I'm just saying, when it comes down to
gas.
When you got 2 jobs to choose from.
And I mean, I think we've already started to see it in this episode, because we got to see Skye pushed farther than we had before when she shot Donnie. This is not, we established at the beginning of the episode, she had not ever had to cross somebody off before, and she made the choice to do that. We saw the blood pressure, that she was still calm. So we've already pushed Skye to a point that we're not used to, that we didn't know if she was ready for, but apparently she is. I feel like everybody else is going to have to go along with her.
I wouldn't say she's ready for it completely, 100%, especially with that last bit. I'm not going to talk about it just yet, but later on we'll talk about it. But I mean, I love this new Skye, but I'm just scared for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a question that I want to just tie into this is we're seeing Hydra start to recruit gifteds. With the exception of Deathlock last season, S.H.I.E.L.D. hasn't really worked with them. Do you guys think that S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to push itself to start recruiting more gifted people?
I think it's the only answer. And actually, if you think about, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but in the cinematic universe, that's what the Avengers is. Yeah. That's S.H.I.E.L.D. saying, look, we got some superpowered people out there. If we don't have them on the payroll, it's going to get ugly. Yeah. So this smaller pocket of S.H.I.E.L.D., what's left of it, that's the one thing Fury, I think, well, did Fury get it right? Because his attempt to do it just made Loki's plan work and made total chaos. So what does Coulson learn from that? Is that you get maybe less cocky heroes, or you train them from the start. Because that was something that S.H.I.E.L.D. definitely did not do in the Avengers film. They didn't train Thor. They were just like, okay, you're a lunatic. Why don't you join up? So maybe
you
this
got superpowers from Guardian. So
because the reason they're being a lot smarter is why I think they're going to take this gifted things a lot more seriously. And they might cross that line between, being the bad guy like Hydra, taking them. Like, I don't want S.H.I.E.L.D. to take the gifteds, but with needing to control them in a sense, I feel like it's going to be headed that way.
Yeah, and building off of that, we got to see more of the inner workings of Hydra in this episode, especially because we now know where Simmons is. Simmons is heavy undercover with Hydra. How long do you guys think she can keep this up? I know Skye's got her reservations about it, and none of us thought. We were sitting there, we were like, "This is gonna be bad. This is gonna be bad." Do we think that she can keep this up for a long time, or is she gonna end up brainwashed?
Who knows? I mean, basically, May said that you're not. She said to Skye later on in the episode, "You're not the only one who's changed." So we see that Simmons has changed as a person. She's lying a lot better from that interview that she had, essentially. That 101 very ominous situation that she was put in. And she pulled it off very well. That said, who knows what's in what the future holds for her. But what I loved is this, and I mentioned it earlier, this really beautiful, the Hydra girl next door attitude that she had going into this episode.
And kind of opening,
Look at me, I'm on my treadmill, I'll have my smoothie or whatever, and or my tea or whatever it is, and I'll go to work, and I'm working for Hydra. Okay. So it's interesting because she is essentially not a sleeper agent because she's very much aware of her situation, but it's going to be very intriguing seeing, because they wanted to keep her covered. They didn't want to blast open that case just yet. So it's going to be interesting, her interaction with Whitehall, with the Kraken, and this is going to take us forward.
My thing is, do you think there's going to be a point where they do turn into a sleeper agent? They might do this in a sense if they find out that she is undercover for S.H.I.E.L.D. and that.
Yeah, they'll be turning it around.
And they'll be turning around. I see it in my mind right now that Hydra does this to makes her into a sleeper agent, and then she's acting like she still works for S.H.I.E.L.D. and she doesn't, and she does something terrible to them. I don't know, but I see it happening.
Well, here's based on history. I have a prediction. I also like the Mary Hydra Moore opening, by the way.
Mary Hydra Moore's my favorite thing.
Such a happy, swell gal. That was delightful. But often in Whedon verses in general, and especially in this show, anytime someone does something that's dumb, that's like, why would you do that? That's such a dumb thing to do. It always pays off. No, I shouldn't say always, but for the most part, even to the point of Ward dropping Fitz and Simmons in the crate. Even at that time, I'm like, why would he do that? He was assigned to kill them. That's not killing them. And he explained that in this one. So I have this lengthy theory because I think Coulson throwing her in there is a really bad idea. I think she's a terrible choice. So what if the goal is to actually get her brainwashed, and maybe Coulson hasn't even told her that, or he has, so they can reverse engineer it? Because the most important thing they could do right now is crack the brainwashing and turn them all back to their side.
That is really interesting.
That'll get her in the room, right?
I like that a lot.
That's my theory.
I mean,
that would be great.
And if I'm right, it's a spoiler. I'm sorry, I'm a jerk.
Brainwash.
That's what the show's about, though.
Do you think he knows? Do you think he knows that that they're doing this whole sleeper agent thing, or do you think he doesn't know just yet?
I think, Fitz knows, or excuse me, Simmons definitely knows now.
Yes,
so that's invaluable. She knows exactly how that works.
Yeah. My issue with turning Simmons into a sleeper agent is we had there's a bad guy on our team last season, and I don't know if I want to watch them tread the same thing. Like, if it is Coulson putting her in there to reverse engineer it, that's one thing. But if it's just, oh, we're going to make her a sleeper agent, and now the team doesn't know that one of their team's a bad guy, we did that storyline already. And we're dealing with repercussions of it as it is. I would worry that it would just end up being too close of a parallel to Ward, even though he wasn't brainwashed. It's still one of us is a bad guy, you know.
I have a question too. How do you tell when someone is sketchy when you work for Hydra? You're acting strange. You're Hydra. You're all weird.
Yeah.
Like Gary Shandling was your senator.
That's one of the boxes you click off when you apply. Are you weird? Yes
sketchy
or no?
and untrustable.
I like to say I am weird. Take it to the next level if it's necessary.
I feel like her answers, instead of like, of course I'm nervous, should be like, yeah, I killed my neighbor last night. They'd be like, oh, cool, keep up the good work, yeah.
Hey, Hydra, very good. Let's move on this day. You know,
There's no incentives program for you. You're just right in.
Yeah,
good to
you
go.
only get busted if like they catch you donating to charity. Then they're like, hey,
You gave
what the
him a
hell's going
dollar.
on?
we saw you bring in a kitten off the
Yes.
street, and that's not what we
No.
do.
As we said also in this episode, how many times did they use the "Did you think I wouldn't find out" joke?
Bad guys 101. It's not like
And Coulson
that's
did it
what
too.
Hydra
Yeah.
is.
Before we move on to our next topic, I wanted to give a quick shout out to the Daily Marvelite. It's a fantastic website. If you get a chance, which you will have, go ahead. 'Cause I assume people have time. Go ahead on over to Twitter. They're at Daily Marvelite, and you can follow them. And you can check out their website at dailymarvelite.com. They're really, really awesome. I've been looking at them all week. It's a ton of really cool stuff. So if you wanna learn more about what's going on in the MCU, see some cool theories, definitely check them out. Now, your theory about whether or not Coulson is placing Simmons in there to reverse engineering leads me to my next question. We're seeing a new Coulson. We're seeing Director Coulson. He's making decisions. He's keeping things from people.
Compartmentalizing
He's
everything.
becoming Nick Fury. He's learning from his mentor. But is he going to learn from Fury's mistakes? A lot of the issue that they're in right now with this Hydra thing comes from the fact that Fury he kept people out of the loop, and they were able to use this compartmentalization and this shroud that Fury kept over everything to insert themselves and grow with Project Insight. Do we think that Coulson's going to learn from this, or is he going to make the same mistakes?
Maybe not just yet. Not just yet, only because he did choose to tell Fitz about Simmons at the end of the episode. And Nick Fury, he always, like you said, kept people out of the loop. And I feel like before this episode, I would have said yes to that question, that he's heading towards like this darker path of like Nick Fury and there's going to be consequences and stuff. But after this episode, I'm going to say no because of the fact that he told Fitz the truth, and now he's in the loop. Because he was the only one, well, the entire team about the war thing. But now they all know. There's no secrets.
Yeah.
There's no secrets to hide. Now they know that Ward was there,
He's always
and
been there.
it's just all open now, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I love the idea of Coulson taking S.H.I.E.L.D. in a different direction from Nick Fury, because he took on so much of what Nick Fury told him at first, but it feels like a natural progression of things. Like he's evolving like an organism parallel to the organism of Hydra, the organization of Hydra as it spreads through the world. And I think he's trying to be like the antigens to this virus that's trying to take over the world. And he knows that the only way to do that is by keeping, if not everyone, at least most of the people in the loop in this case. I think that's the only way that he's going to be able to heal S.H.I.E.L.D. from the inside, you know, and from past mistakes that have happened within the very foundation of this team. So it's interesting changing that game up, and at the same time being called Director Coulson.
Yeah.
Keeping that
the
title,
yeah.
and changing it up a little bit. But yeah, of course, he's still compartmentalizing a lot of information for the safety of a lot of the agents. But I think he's, right now, it's a fine balance. We don't know where all the mysterious stuff that's happening with him is going to take his character, because I think that he's going to become darker, but not because of what he's doing with S.H.I.E.L.D., more so because of what's happening on the inside of him as a person.
And that's the only secret he's keeping from the team.
Right, exactly.
Except for May.
except for
knows.
May, but
Yeah.
you know.
I think any employee at any company always knows what they would do if they got to take over. Everyone goes home and thinks about that. And in the MCU, we've had the joy of watching Coulson from the first Iron Man movie to now, moving up in his position, questioning his leaders, small asides about how S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't doing a good job at that time. I think his weakness / strength will be that, unlike Fury, Coulson's very selfish with his team. There's a lot of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents out there, and he's sort of looking for them, but at the end of the day, he's really just focusing on his family, which is his team. I think his personal attachment to them is exactly his strength and his weakness, and that he's that dad who's working 2 jobs, and he's hiding from you that you might go hungry next month, but he's also still bringing in everyone for the family meeting. Like, hey guys, here's what's going on with us. So, I think he has learned a lesson of, if you keep everyone at arm's distance, then no one knows how to help you, and you can't reach out for help.
Right.
And then you die. Or have to disappear forever. Yeah. So in this case, I think he has learned at least that, and I think he's fighting it, whether he should love them as he does, or if he should be Nick Fury, because that didn't necessarily work out.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. One of the big things in this episode is we really got to connect more with Ward. We got a little bit of him in the season premiere, and he was a little, dark and mysterious, but we really got to connect with him more. We saw him interact with Skye, with Fitz, with all of these things, and we learned more about how he feels about his actions last season.
Yeah.
Where do you guys think / want Ward to go? Is redemption possible, or do you think he's too far gone?
Redemption is definitely possible. I stand with Ward. Definitely. No,
If Ward
definitely.
wasn't absurdly attractive, would you still have the same?
Oh wait, let me revise my answer then. I mean, ever since that beard, I was just like, oh my god, yes, no.
Totally sidetracking.
For real?
His awesome sleeves in this episode.
What?
Yeah.
By the way,
You think you can change
by the
him,
way,
don't you?
by the way, continuity issue. He totally had like a ginormous tan. I'm just saying. But back to the question. Where do I think he's headed? It's going to take a lot of time, but there's going to be a time where they've been needing him for every mission so far. But there's going to be a time where they're going to need him, need him in the sense of, you need to come out of that cage. And when that happens, I bet there's going to be a glimpse moment where you think, oh, he's betraying them, just like how TV works. They're just going to do this glimpse moment where it's just like, oh, like he's going to betray them again. No, I think Ward is on the right path. I think he's going to be a good guy. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah,
There's a lot of hurt there.
It's a way to recovery. It's interesting. I have a feeling that they're either going to go like a to quote Whedonverse, either like a Dark Willow coming back from the dark side, essentially.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Or like Garrett was his being Angelus. And they have to kind of bring him back from exploring all that darkness in him, back to seeing what is good in him, like trying to make him see what is good in him. And maybe I think his family is going to come into this as well, because that kind of bomb was dropped, essentially, knowing that his family is in a higher position somewhere in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or at least the S.H.I.E.L.D. universe right now. So that'll be interesting how they will explore his family and how it affects him and his behavior throughout the series. That's going to be a very interesting twist, I think.
Yeah, I can't drop that. I kept saying this during the episode, like, what about his family? What? Skye said, like, oh, everyone knows like how loved your family is and stuff, and he's just like, yeah, people have secrets. This takes me in full nerd zone in comic books. I remember Grant Morrison in New X-Men just dropped one panel about Emma Frost's history, about like her evil dad and her gay brother and her sister who was a jerk, and they turned that into an entire series and rewrote the entire character's backstory based on one panel, and it was brilliant. It was fascinating. It made Emma Frost an amazing character. That's exactly what that moment did for me. I'm like, wait, what's Ward's backstory? What's his family? What's going on?
I'm
Because we've
really
only had
excited.
glimpses before.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's coming this season. It was just announced the other day that his brother was cast. It was Christian Ward, right? That's his
Senator
name,
Ward.
Christian Ward. That's going to
Wonder
be
if his
interesting.
family's religious or something.
Interesting to see.
this is the episode that I think, maybe I speak for us all, but it's the episode I didn't know I wanted, because I'm done with Ward. Like, I'm done. But this was the first one where I'm like, damn it. All right. What's the backstory?
This is the first one where you were like, I stand with Ward.
Yes. And look, I'm going to say it again. If Ward looked like Patton Oswalt, we'd be like, kill him. just put him out the airlock. But it's like, but he's so those eyes. Just one more chance.
It is interesting. I was just thinking about this. When you go back to season 1 and you see the episode where, like, Garrett leaves him in the woods and all of the training that kind of gets Ward on Garrett's side. It's not the full indoctrination that we're used to with Hydra, but that kind of, you can trust me. And he says in this episode, I am not loyal to Hydra, I'm loyal to Garrett. They end the episode with he's supposed to shoot the dog.
Right.
And then they just cut to black and you hear the gunshot.
We still never know.
And in my head, I went, oh yeah, he shot the dog. Like, he was willing to do what Garrett wanted him to do. And then in the conversation he had with Fitz today, when he was like, I was supposed to put a bullet in your head, and I couldn't do it. I don't think he shot that dog. I think Garrett has been the one who has been who pushed him. I mean, we obviously know that, but Garrett was the one who was pulling the trigger behind the scenes a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we saw him kill Maria Hand, but there's so much more. And as a character, he got so much criticism during the first season of like, oh yeah, he's the straightforward, like, good guy, and we're finding so much more about him that I think lets him fit and play in the world. And when this season started, I was like, he's a bad guy, we're done with him. But now I want him back. I'm like, let's do Ward and Skye for like 4 episodes.
Yeah. No, please. I love it. I love it when it's just him, because it's just so good. Oh, just too good.
It's really funny what they did with it, because apparently none of the cast and most of the writers didn't know that Ward in the first season was going to be a bad guy, that he was going to be working for Hydra. They went into an advanced screening, and I saw this from an interview with Clark Gregg. They went into an advanced screening of The Winter Soldier, and after they came out, they were like, what just happened? Do we get to keep our jobs right now? Yeah. Where do we go from here? And the first moment that they went into the episode, they didn't have the real script. When they went in to shoot, that's when they got the twist. And everyone was like, we were sitting in the same room, and suddenly we read the twist, and we all just looked at Ward and kind of just like, sorry, I can't really do this right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
To say the least, yeah.
As we move forward, one of the things that we talked a little bit about this last episode, but one of the cool things that I think we're setting up is Hydra is coming so hard at people, and we saw them come after Donnie, and Donnie fought back. Like, Blizzard fought back. He didn't want there to be. He didn't want to be used. Do we think that Hydra's going after gifted people is going to cause us to reveal more superheroes that they wouldn't use in the movies? Are we like Mockingbird? Obviously, is a big one that's coming in this season. But are there ones that you guys want them to bring in?
I think what we've learned with supervillains in general is that the last thing that they want is like a big controlling faction that tells them what to do. So I'm looking forward to, I think we may even get a splinter group that like Hydra got a hold of, and then they break out and get loose and they make their own team. But I think that approach of just like, hey, join us or else, I think it works in sort of the reverse X-Men concept of like, if your powers just started and you just need someone to tell you what to do, that works.
Yeah,
and then they just want, safety and security. Maybe you accidentally just killed your parents with your powers or something. Someone comes in and tells you they'll help you. That's a good idea. But just coming at them guns blazing and like, you work for us now, I think the villains are going to start revolting against that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to join S.H.I.E.L.D. per se.
I wonder if
just like when. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say. I was just going to drop. I wonder if that's how Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are going to work in Age of Ultron as well.
I think so. I mean, when Mockingbird was announced that she was going to appear in this season, I definitely thought she's obviously a spy.
Yeah.
I was never like, oh, she's Hydra. Oh my God. She's obvious.
What a twist.
She's obviously a spy, people.
Yeah.
What if she's the first person that they actually not brainwash, but they reverse her
That'd be
brainwashing?
interesting.
I would like to see that
in this, because they were very interesting. And also, I know that Adrian Palicki has been in discussions to join the official Marvel Cinematic Universe.
They've mentioned it, yeah.
Ugh.
But speaking of people that they could add, I think this is a great way to bring it over to our fan questions for the episode. Throughout the week, you guys have been sending us episodes, and even tonight, you guys have sent us questions that we want to answer. So let's take it to our first fan question. Let's see. At KeegsX18X asked, I want to see Abigail Brand make an appearance on the show. What do you all think? Abigail Brand, for those of us who don't know, is the head of S.W.O.R.D, the intergalactic shield, as it were. And I think that'd be perfect. We had Maria Hand. I think that having Abigail Brand is a great way to bring in this cosmic stuff that's still the blue alien, the obelisk that's sitting around the outside, would be a great way to do it. So I'm pro Brand.
Me too.
Definitely.
I am definitely pro Brand. I love her. I love her. And like she's one of my favorites. So I'm pro Brand as well.
There's sort of characters that you ship in your head, or because the book did it, and you don't want one without the other, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think of another example. I don't want Brand without Hank McCoy.
I was
like
Beast
and Brand go together. We in the comics we're introduced to her as that they're working together on a team mission, and she's just like, I want to break you like a puppy, and he's like, whoa! And it's like she's got her stuff together, and she's like in charge, but aside she's just like, we're gonna do it. I'm an alien, you're a blue furry monster.
That's why I like her, because I think it would be she's really sassy, so she'll bring like sassiness into it.
Yeah, it would break my heart the Beast isn't there. My thought and prediction is I don't think we're going to see Brand on the show until we get another space adventure movie.
Yeah.
So either Guardians or the next Avengers, and then we're going to get Space Shield.
Or if we get Iron Man going into space.
Oh, good point. So once Shield is sort of reformed in the Marvel Universe, which one assumes it will be at some point, that's when we're going to get. It's like, oh, and by the way, Space Shield. And
here we go.
Known as S.W.O.R.D,
My
of
favorite
course.
new show.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and take it on to our second fan question. All right, at Slater_15 asks, do you think Ward will step back into his dark place now that we're being introduced to his brother, Christian Ward? This goes back to a little bit about what we were talking, but we do know that his brother, bullied him and like was
he had two
rough.
brothers.
That's true. And I honestly would like to see him rise above it. I think that's the step that we're looking for his redemption, is to see Ward interact with this person who is a horrible influence in his life. And if he's willing to just be like, you're not going to pull me back down, you're not going to drag me back down, I think that's a huge turning point as a character.
No, I definitely agree. I'm excited to see his brother, first of all, because he's a politician in the show, right? It was announced
senator, I think.
Right.
Senator, and is he that evil? I mean, let's not talk about politics here.
What if he's also secretly Hydra?
Very possible.
They had a lot of politicians.
That would be mind blowing.
That would be awesome.
That
It's
would
like
be
we've been
really
working
great.
for the same thing. What if Garrett was also getting all this information from his brother?
What if his brother is the one that pushed him for Garrett to go get him in
Yeah, 'cause he's
Juvie?
like, how did you find him in the first place in Juvie? Maybe his brother
Maybe
was
his
like, I'm
brother was already a
politician.
Hydra person. Mind blown.
That would be
Done.
insane.
But Ward might have even known later on, because what does he always say? I don't work for Hydra.
Right.
Yeah.
He hates Hydra.
He's like, I work
so
for-
maybe
I work
he even
for
found
Garrett.
out his brother is Hydra. If that's
That'd
the
be
case,
cool.
maybe he even knows.
I'm
And what a
super
cool
excited.
dynamic.
I'm super excited.
So excited.
Our show that we wrote is so good. Can't wait to see
We've
it.
got the best fan fiction ever. Let's go home now, guys. Before we go home, we have more fan questions. Our next fan question was sent to us throughout the week. It comes from @Richards626. So, who else thinks that the Obelisk is Terrigen?
Everyone point at James right now.
James,
This
you're
is all you, buddy.
king of the
That's all
Inhumans
you.
right here.
That's all you.
This is all you, buddy.
Well, the thing is that like it's a physical object that's come out from outer space. I think in this way, I think it's connected to Kree, not necessarily Inhumans just yet. I think that it's going to be a really important clue as to how the Inhuman story will unravel, depending on Kyle MacLachlan's character, the Skye's father, Skye, and Reyna. So I think as an object, I don't think it's Terrigen, because it hasn't revealed, it doesn't give you powers because the Terrigen Mists end up, giving you or expressing your powers within the Inhumans culture. This is more like it chooses you to see whether or not you're worthy to receive any powers. So I don't think it gives you powers just yet. But who knows? Who knows where we're going to move on?
And it's creepy. It just is.
It's super creepy.
The symbols come up. It's Kree, not creepy.
Kree.
Also
Oh,
creepy.
sorry.
But the symbols come up. It's Kree. It just is. It just is Kree.
Definitely.
I
Absolutely.
think it's picking the next Captain Marvel or something along those lines.
That's very awesome.
Why did you say that?
That's my theory. I think it's testing for the next Captain Marvel.
Oh, wow. I'm done.
Let's go ahead. We can't top that. Let's go on to our live fan question. This question was asked by Molly Rebecca 31, and they asked, what Marvel character would each of you like to have lunch with? So in one sentence, I want a one-sentence pitch. Who is your Marvel lunch date?
Oh my God, this is so
I
hard.
got this. Mine's easy.
Jack's ready.
Let's see how many few words I can do this in. Kitty pride since I was 12.
Done.
I mean, the Wolverine. I would, yes.
You want to have lunch with Wolverine?
I would want to have lunch with Wolverine.
Little James Logan Howlett?
As long as he looks like Hugh Jackman and I get to just touch his chest afterwards.
Hugh Jackman is not a Marvel character.
I like to
Villain.
pretend, but no, for real, the Wolverine. I mean, I love him. He's such a great
I
character.
like the Wolverine. So formal.
It's the Wolverine,
Excuse me,
you
Mr.
guys,
The
not
Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Mr. Vereen.
Ben Vereen is her answer.
Lunch-wise, I don't know where the conversation would go, considering we'd be from different cultures, but I think Thor, because he's Asgardian, he knows how to party up in Valhalla, man. He knows how to down those tankards of beer.
It's gonna be a 14-hour lunch.
Smash them and go like, more please. And I'm Greek, so I love smashing anything that has to do with plates or glasses. So we're like, more please, come on. We just smash plates and mugs
as long
and
as he
stuff.
does that.
All the time.
Always.
James, you've been
would be
back. You've been gone for
great.
3 weeks. I had lunch with Thor. I don't know.
We never got to eat. All the plates broke.
In exactly the opposite, I'm gonna have to go Peter Parker. You know what? Him and I would talk about nerdy things, and especially if he's always the Peter Parker we've had, him and I are gonna quip off. We're gonna just say funny things at each other. There will be no real conversation, and it'll be fantastic. But that's just me. So
Good
that
question,
brings
by
us.
the way.
That
Great
was awesome.
question.
Yeah.
That was great.
Let's go
Thank
ahead
you for that.
and wrap up this episode of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show. But before we do, we want to throw a couple of shout outs to some friends of ours on Twitter. First off, check out @MollyRebecca31, also @Wandering_Lily, @StandWithWard.
Nice.
That's subtle.
Is that you? That's just yours,
No,
right?
that's not me.
No, it's a really, we talked about them last week, but they're a really
Yeah,
cool
they're
group.
great.
@IHeartCoulson, make sure you spell out heart, @Shield TV fans, and @The Marvel Legion. All of those guys are awesome, so definitely check that out. And before we put the final cap on this show, don't forget to check out @Shield Radio, and please check out their Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast at helicarrierpodcast.com. So right now, here's your assignment. Go ahead, subscribe to theStream.tv right here on YouTube so that you can be a part of our conversation. Send us your questions throughout the week using hashtag AOSAS, and we would love to answer them. We're having so much fun talking to you guys. Let's go ahead and keep the fun going. Thank you all very much. Thank you for being with us. And we will see you next week on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show. Good night.
Bye,
Agents, goodbye.
It's not like a S.H.I.E.L.D. thing.
Is it a shield eagle?